This is From Maine with Love, an Allagash Brewing podcast where we talk about beer, our community here in Maine, and things that generally make us happy. In this episode, we're talking to a few members of the Pink Boots Plus team here at Allagash about all sorts of stuff, really. The National Pink Boots Society, hop blends, the Aroma Dome, and arm wrestling, to name a few. So settle in and grab a beer if you have one nearby, because here we go. With me today, I have Hannah Johnson, quality specialist here at Allagash. We have Katie Bocage, a brewer, and Leah Jones, a beer to market specialist. I'm Brett. I work on the marketing team here at Allagash. And before we start on the topic at hand, which is going to be talking about our Pink Boots team here at Allagash and also the kind of Pink Boots main chapter, I think we might get into a little bit. Question for you, Hannah. Have you seen any good birds recently?
Thank you for the question, Brett. Honestly, not a ton. A lot of the common yard birds that you tend to see, even sometimes during the winter. But I will say that the birds that have stuck around are extra lively this week. So it's getting me really amped and psyched to start looking for some of those migratory birds. The other day I saw a pair of cardinals, which was That's really cool. Remarkable. Totally. Like, especially when everything is like drab and dreary right now, it's so amazing to see a male cardinal with all its red and glory. Totally. But yeah, other than that, a lot of house finches, a lot of sparrows, and seagulls.
A lot of seagulls.
Oh yeah.
I remember I saw a tree full of turkey vultures like outside of the brewery, and it looked like some sort of a portent of the future. Something bad was going to happen because it was like 18 turkey vultures in one tree. But luckily, nothing bad happened, I don't think. Well, I don't know. It could have been like right before COVID. So maybe that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, they love to do that. Turkey vultures and crows love to roost all together in like the same tree. I actually recently learned that Portland, Oregon has like a cleanup crew for crows that like to go into the city at night and roost. And they have falconers go out and use a hawk to scare off all the crows to prevent so much bird poop on the sidewalks.
This is the Allagash Birding Podcast. I'm
telling you, it's the next thing.
We're definitely going to do a birding podcast at some point. I think it's just gonna have to happen. We're gonna switch off of birding slightly and say so this one's for Leah. What is your favorite or go-to walking trail here in Portland?
Oh, that's a great question. There's actually not 5 minutes down the road from here is Millbrook Preserve, which is a really cool nature trail. I have 2 toddlers, so I am currently stuck to like easy trails. But it goes alongside the brook down there, and it's just really beautiful and peaceful. And then actually last summer, I stumbled across the Raymond Community Forest, which is like 350 something acres of preserved land. And it has a few like super awesome nature trails that are easy to walk, but then you can also walk up the summit there, and it has this beautiful view of Crescent Lake, I believe.
Nice.
And so it's just like really beautiful and not far away, which is great for my schedule because I don't have time to drive anywhere. It's just like right there. So, yeah, it's really great. I do a lot of bird watching also while I'm out here.
Really?
So Hannah, I need to borrow you for a day and teach me a few things.
All right, Katie, do you have a go-to walking trail? You're a newer resident of Portland.
Yeah, I moved to Portland last April.
Right.
So I did have the summer to check out a few little spots. I actually had done some volunteering through the Portland Parks Conservancy.
Cool.
And the first volunteer thing I did was a park cleanup at the Riverton Trolley Park.
Yeah.
Which is essentially across the street from where we are at Allagash. And it's such an interesting little hidden gem. Like apparently in like the early 1900s, it was this like booming like park. Yeah. There was an amusement park, an amphitheater, a casino, there was a petting zoo, I don't know what they didn't have there. I think they had swan boats.
That's amazing.
They had everything. And there's not much of it still there, but there's still some like cool little stone structures. And I do like going on a nice walk down there every now and then when it's not too buggy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which it can be a little bit, but
certainly can be.
And also Wolf's Neck. I've spent some time walking around there. It is just beautiful.
Yeah, Wolf's Neck is so nice.
Yeah, I will go like around low tide and bring my extra tufts and kind of walk out, and it's just so beautiful.
All right, so to the matter at hand. So I guess the kind of the first question I'd love to ask the three of you is, what is the Pink Boots Society?
Pink Boots Society it's an international organization, a nonprofit, and it supports women and non-binary individuals who are employed in the alcohol industry. Mm-hmm. So that can be beer, cider, liquor, and through membership dues, fundraisers, special events, collaboration brew days, Pink Boots works to raise money to provide scholarships for these individuals so they can further their education and their careers.
That's awesome. So is it like, are the scholarships kind of like a really big part of Pink Boots then? It sounds like that's kind of like the education is kind of the fundamental part of it, or one of the parts.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me actually read to you the slogan for Pink Boots. Nice. Is we're here to assist, inspire, encourage women and or non-binary individuals in the fermented and alcoholic beverage industry through education. So really the core of Pink Boots is to provide education for women so they can further their careers. And scholarships are right there at the center of that.
I mean, I feel like just for me, I'm such a proponent of education in beer because I think like, as I've seen kind of from my role and talking with people on social media and kind of seeing stuff out there, it's just like beer is so complicated. It has so much to it. Like, and the three of you are actually a really cool cross section of people sort of in there. There's the brewing aspect of it, the sort of biological, like, a microbiology aspect for Hannah. And then for Leah, it's really, how does a beer literally go from idea to execution? And so, but how did you come to join Pink Boots? Like, how did it come up society?
Oh boy. Well, let's see. I started at Allagash about a little over 5 years ago. And Allagash is the first brewery that I've worked for. I've worked in serving beer industry before, but Allagash is the actual first brewery. And when I joined, there was a little bit of a buzz going around about this Pink Boots Society and that it's, the society for women to help empower women and encourage them through education. So, naturally I was like, I'm a woman and I want to learn here in the industry. And so I joined. The women that work here at Allagash were getting together to talk about this collaboration brew. And then we just started to really love and appreciate that time that we would spend together.
Cool.
And we felt supported within that group. All of us were going through so many different things personally, work-wise. There was this big social reckoning happening on social media about, sexism in the industry, and just a lot of us were impacted by that, and so we've really found this ironically virtually safe space to come together and talk about. And we looked forward to our meetings to talk about our collaboration brew and everything. And, decided that it would be beneficial for all of us to just continue to get together, outside of our annual brew. And so that's sort of how our Pink Boots Plus team developed here in Allagash. And one of our goals as we started talking about that was to also use our resources here at Allagash, being one of the biggest, if not biggest brewery in Maine, with everything that we have under our hats, to then help support the Maine Pink Boots chapter. So that's one of our goals. And for me personally, I was very driven to take action and really help out and start building. The previous chapter leader, Heather Holland from Outland Farm Brewery, she's still currently involved. She's a great resource, a person that, can lend a hand and knowledge and really help guide what has worked in the past and what hasn't. But we've actually recently developed a main chapter leadership team. So it's not just one person driving anything right now. We have a few folks from Allagash. We have Hannah here and Katie, who are, Hannah is focused on that educational piece and that financial liaison. Katie is focused on social events, and she also has a great connection with Yakima Chief because of her time that she spent out there due to the Pink Boots Scholarship. And then we have other members. We have Shay from Nonsuch River, Christy Kane from Olive Pit Brewing, which is a new brewery in the state. Let's see, we have Courtney Caslow with Good Fire Brewing. She's also focused on social events. Missy Littlefield with Rising Tide, focusing on educational events. So we have all these people. I don't think I missed anyone. We have all these people working on these individual tasks that I think collectively, as we really go forward, we can build the chapter up and just really give back and get more members. If there's 160 breweries in the state, I can only imagine how many of those people are women and how many we can, start getting together and really drive what educational events we want to see, aside from hop sensory and malt sensory and off flavors and brewing. We also want to go through and really identify, DEI training and other HR related training and things like that. So,
right, that's diversity, equity, and
Yes,
inclusion.
yep.
Just to make sure I've got it right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had always heard of Pink Boots. I joined the industry about 8 years ago, working in New Hampshire as a brewer. And being in the industry as a woman, I've personally seen or realized the lack of presence of women and non-binary people in the brewing industry. So when I came to Maine, there was a little bit more of a presence of the cause of the organization, and I joined immediately after starting at Allagash, which was about 5 years ago. And I wasn't super involved. There wasn't a lot going on at the time. And then COVID obviously hit, so that didn't help anything. So just over the past couple of years, I've gotten more and more passionate about the cause. And I've just been wanting to spend more time, helping these ladies get the chapter going again.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I actually joined the brewing industry back in late 2017 in the Boston area. And it was the following spring of 2018 that I ended up joining Pink Boots. It was kind of funny. We had our collaboration brew day, which is an annual event that Pink Boots has. Is they partner with Yakima Chief Hops. And Yakima Chief actually provides a special blend of hops, which can be purchased by breweries, and use it to brew a collaboration beer with proceeds going back to Pink Boots Society. So I knew that our brewery wanted to plan one of these so we could support. And that was one of the bigger pushes for me to join. I had heard about Pink Boots prior, but was still very fresh to the industry.
Totally.
And then it was maybe a couple months later where I really started to get involved. I was like, great, I'm a member now. I brewed a beer. This is cool. And then our Boston chapter had an arm wrestling competition. And I was like, ooh, I want to do that. So that was actually my first opportunity to really start getting involved in the Boston chapter and start networking and meeting other women who were in Massachusetts and brewing and doing other parts of the industry. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of my big, all right, do some arm wrestling and meet some different people. And it was a great opportunity to start meeting, other women who are in the same position as I am.
That's really cool. Do you still have a passion for arm wrestling?
I do it every now and then.
Very cool.
It's a lot of fun. And it is such a fun way to build camaraderie between the women, which is kind of funny to say because it's it's competition,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
but but it is so much fun, the amount of support that you get from one another.
Yeah.
And even it was, our collaboration brew day, we had a few girls from the main chapter practicing some arm wrestling and giving each other, some pointers, trying different techniques, and it was a lot of fun.
So the three of you are actually really involved with the main chapter at this point. And so I guess I'd just be interested to hear kind of like, what are your roles? What are you doing within the main Pink Boots chapter at this point?
I am, as an official title, head of finances, which is just as it sounds. I'm keeping an eye on and track of our main chapter funding. So we know who's paid their dues, what money we've raised at various events, and how we can use this money for events, recruiting, educational opportunities, and more. I've also volunteered to help organize some of these educational events, along with our Katie Bocage here at Allagash and Missy Littlefield from Rising Tide.
Awesome.
I work mainly on recruitment. I'm kind of like the hype woman. So I've just been doing a lot of outreach, really trying to get different breweries involved and have more women join. We have so many women working in the beverage industry in Maine, who are not involved in Pink Boots, and so my big focus is trying to reach out to these women, get them to join Pink Boots.
Awesome. How about you, Leah?
So my title is main chapter leader, and what I do with the chapter is sort of organize everybody, organize our chapter leadership team meetings, try to get Pink Boots, involved in various different, events. We have a few coming down the pipe here. I do all the communications with the National Pink Boots Society. I ensure that, folks are welcomed when they join. We really collectively, I think, work together and bounce a lot of ideas off of each other. There's no single person doing this currently right now, which is really great.
That's really interesting. Like how is that relationship between the main chapter and the national chapter? I guess what is the interplay there?
No, that's a great question. So the Pink Boots Society was founded 15 years ago, and so it was much smaller. Obviously, back then it was a group of, I think, 60 women in the country. And so now there's many chapters nationwide, but actually worldwide. The main chapter has been around for about 5 years, I believe. The current membership was just under 50 people.
Oh, cool.
And over the past few years, and of course, COVID did not help any of this, but it was led by mainly one person, with a few people helping a little bit along the way. Again, this is absolutely a voluntary position, so it's the time you dedicate to it is time that you have to dedicate towards it. And so once I recently got involved about less than a year ago or so, I definitely saw potential of how we could grow the Maine chapter. Maine is, as we all know, a hot spot for the beer industry, but wine and cider as well. And there's so many women working here in our community, not even Southern Maine, but in all of Maine. And I felt like there was more potential to really build up the chapter. And with that, it's not one person's job to do that. Right. So we've actually established this leadership team, again, with Hannah, Katie, a few other women who are working at other breweries to really focus on each of those areas so that we can hopefully build our presence in Maine with Pink Boots Society. And just sort of, get educational opportunities out to the women that are working in the industry, either solely alone in a brewery or, even, the society is open up to women who, just work at bars as well. You don't need to work at a tap
That's
room,
cool.
to be involved. So people that are working, serving alcohol and things like that. So we're just hoping to really outreach more people in our industry.
Totally. That it made me think of the question too, though. Like, what is the sort of, what would be success for the three of you? Like, what are you hoping to help sort of foster through Pink Boots?
Over time, we can be collectively this strong unit of women and non-binary individuals who are working here in Maine,
Mm-hmm.
not just Southern Maine, but we're actually hoping to provide these resources, these educational events, these social hours to Central and hey, maybe even Northern Maine, but we're looking for that like central spot where we can help everybody in the state and be a good, safe community with positive energy, with, any sort of educational stuff that people want to do out there. I've, reached out to the chapter looking for feedback. What do you want out of Pink Boots and things like that? So we're really just trying to just be a force that, women and non-binary individuals can resort to in the industry. We're fortunate here at Allagash to be working among many different women, and breweries out there are, some of them are a little bit more isolated and alone than that. And, we just want to open that door and that opportunity for everybody to collectively just get together. We want to have, more scheduled educational events, possibly
Sure.
something every 6 weeks. And then on the other hand, something, maybe social events in between that. We definitely want to increase our participation in the Collaboration Brew Day, which is the
Sure.
Pink Boots' biggest fundraiser of the year. We've had roughly 10 breweries in the state participate on average, which has been great. I feel like some breweries are also doing specifically International Women's Day beers versus Pink Boots Collaboration beers, which is either, help with the messaging, and that's awesome. And I think we just want to get behind that a little bit more and get some participation more widely.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. It just makes me think too of the sort of how the pandemic seemed to underscore the power of community, where it was like you kind of forgot how nice it was just to be around other people in a similar situation as you were in. And so I think that that's just awesome to build that consistency and have a place that people can rely on, have that community. So
yep.
Sounds awesome.
Absolutely. There was definitely the last 2 years, I think, really triggered something inside me, especially of like this need for unity and community. And hopefully we can bring that to the table over the next few years as we slowly move along here. But
totally. That's awesome. Kind of backing up a little bit, I guess. Katie, could you talk a little bit about that Yakima Chief scholarship? Because you took part in that, I believe.
Yeah, last year, Yakima Chief had a scholarship called the Yakima Chief Experiential Scholarship. And so 5 Pink Boots members, myself being one of them, were able to go out to Yakima Valley. And Yakima Chief is amazing. They put us all up in this cute little villa.
Nice.
And a really cute spot. And Kelly Lormeyer of Yakima Chief, she is a field marketing specialist. She spent the 4 days with us kind of driving us around to visit different farms. We got to learn so much. We went to Yakima Chief. We got to visit the Aroma Dome and do sensory classes, which was super fun. Also getting to learn just so much about the sensory process and see how a place like Yakima does it. They're really so cool. We got to see their processing facilities, and we got to go to Yakima Chief ranches.
Nice.
Learned about, how different hops are propagated, how different strains are created. It really was so much activity packed into like 4 days. And
awesome.
it was a really, really great trip. And also getting to see, Yakima Valley at the beginning of harvest.
Right.
Is so much buzz and excitement in the air. Everyone's just, they work towards that all year. And then they have this few week window where it is just like, complete madness. Everyone is, tour groups coming through. All the harvesting equipment is running. It was a really, really great trip, and also being able to connect with those 4 other women who got the scholarship was such a great experience. So we're all still in close contact with each other, and
that's awesome. That was going to be my kind of follow-up question was, are you still talking with them? That's great.
Yeah. A few of them actually got to go to the Pink Boots National Conference in February, and they were like sending us pictures the whole time. They're like, "Oh, look who I ran into."
That's awesome. I mean, I guess just as a brief aside too, like, can you kind of talk about the significance of the Yakima Valley for hops?
Absolutely. Yakima Valley is one of the most fertile places, agriculturally in the country, for hops to be grown. So most of the hops that you're going to see in brewing of almost any size, they're going to be coming from the Yakima area of Washington State, or they'll be coming from probably from Europe. We get a lot of European hops are popular too, but if you're looking at any American hops, those are for the most part going to be coming from, of course, there's like smaller hop farms that are scattered around the country, but a bulk of the hops that you're seeing in most of your beers in the USA are coming straight from Yakima Valley.
Also, Aroma Dome. What a name. Is that their name?
Yeah, that's their name for It's funny. They're like, tomorrow we're going to the Aroma Dome. And I'm like, what is that?
It sounds a little intimidating,
It is. But the Aroma Dome is really cool. It is this, it's just their sensory lab. It's very cool. It's very state of the art. It was really special that we got to go tour it as well. Super fun.
So I guess speaking of hops, that kind of leads into Upward Movement, a beer we just recently brewed. Yeah, how did that beer come to be?
Sure. Well, we've done a few Pink Boots blend brews in the past here at Allagash, but they've always been on a really small scale, like our pilot system, which is about 1 barrel of beer. And we really only put it into kegs and into the tasting room. So last year, or I believe it was last year, Leah took the lead and got a small group of ladies here at Allagash together to come up with some recipes using the 2021 Pink Boots Society hop blend, which is something that they do every year. They come up with a hop blend, which Katie can give more detail about this, but they come up with a hop blend and they sell it to breweries all around the world for them to come up with a hop blend beer, and the proceeds can go back to Pink Boots, or some of it can go back to other organizations that support women. It's really whatever you want to do with it. And we came together and came up with some recipes with a few people on the pilot team. And we obviously used the Pink Boots hop blend. Had some hop sensory training with Patrick, who's the head of our R&D team here at Allagash, and we came up with official recipes. We brewed them, and then after they were all, done fermenting and put into packaging or put into kegs, we did a tasting on both beers and took votes on which recipe we liked the best. And then we worked towards scaling it up to our 30-barrel brew house, which was this year. And we are putting it into cans and some into kegs, which will be released in the tasting room. Katie and Leah, you can feel free to add on to that as well if I missed anything.
Yeah, I feel like the natural question is, what were the two beers that you almost landed on? Or I guess, what were the 2 options that you had?
Yes. So we landed on a black IPA, which is mighty delicious.
Yes.
It was a style that we felt should be making a comeback. It's not widely known, or back over a year ago when we were first developing these recipes, they were very few and far between. And then we also felt that the hop blend would do well in like an Abbey Red, which is, a style, another favorite that we have around here. So we brewed both, and both were actually quite tasty. But at the end of the day, we decided we really loved how the blend interacted with the black IPA, and went with that one. So we took that pilot recipe that we served in the tasting room back in early 2021, fine-tuned it a little bit, and brewed it on our 30-barrel system right before International Women's Day this year. So Collaboration Brew Day for the Pink Boots Society is generally held right around International Women's Day. Breweries all over the country, I think there were over 500 plus participants actually all over the world this year, brewing right around International Women's Day, mostly with that hop blend. So it was really cool that like all of these beers have something in common.
Yeah.
They don't, not every single one, but most of them do. And it's a great way to raise money and awareness in general to the Pink Boots Society. So
that brew day was so good. That was like, I feel like one of the first days, at least for me, like post Omicron surge stuff of like, we were at the brewery around people. There was like a little cheese board. It was just like a very joyous occasion.
It was a great day. I mean, we had most of the women that work at Allagash here on site together at the same time, pretty much touching elbows, which hasn't been a thing for a while. We all got to participate in some fashion, whether it be, adding hops, weighing hops. We milled some of the malts and things like that. And we had people from each department, people that work out in our tasting room out on the brew deck. Hannah did the yeast propagation, weeks prior. So the yeast that went into that beer was, thanks to Hannah. And then I believe actually Claire dry hopped the beer a week or two later when that was ready. So, we're looking to package it next week.
Oh,
wow. And Monica, who is our packaging supervisor on one of the shifts, she's going to be out there, helping package the beer. So all around, like our women were involved, and we're really excited to see that. And it was great to have what felt like a normal day here finally at the brewery to celebrate that thing. We had food brought in from Tandem, which is a local female-owned bakery down the road, and it was delicious. Elbow brought in a meat and cheese board,
on a board that she had made. She also is a woodworker. Crazy.
Exactly. Yep.
I mean, this is a total aside, and we don't even have to include this. But did you hear that Tandem got like one of the top 25 best coffee shops in the world from the Financial Times?
That is amazing.
Pretty nuts. I mean, I don't know.
Good for them.
That cheddar jalapeno biscuit.
I had like 4 of those that morning, and I wasn't upset about it. They're so delicious.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. It's so cool to hear how all the process was, women, guiding that. It's so cool.
Yeah. And then the label itself was actually designed by a local artist, Rachel Gloria Adams, who we've done work with before in the past for another collaboration brew that we did. But she just, we sat down and told her a little bit about the beer, told her a little bit about our team, and she just went to work and designed this beautiful label. I can't wait to see it on the cans.
Yeah.
That really, it just resonated with everything that we're shooting for with the beer, but also the reason behind why we're brewing and releasing the beer as well. The beer name, Upward Movement, was an idea by our New England sales manager, Carrie D., who felt that women in general, women in this industry are really trying to make strides. And we feel like, especially over the past few years, we've been doing that. And it also links to, Allagash, and what's unique about, our namesake of Allagash, the waterway actually flows northeast a little bit. So like, we felt like that name resonated not only with Allagash, but our goal here of, upward movement. So super cool to just have it all, like, we have our hands in a lot of this beer release.
No, that was awesome. I mean, I feel like there's so much interesting, like there's so many cool aspects to that beer, just how it all came together and also how it tastes. It's a very good beer.
Yeah, it's very tasty. It's a little bit. It's got a nice like medium body, super easy to drink. It's definitely not a stout in any way.
Yeah.
The hop blend I think fared very nicely with this one.
So actually, you mentioned the hop blend. Actually, Katie, could you talk a little bit more about that hop blend?
So the hop blend, we actually use the hop blend from the previous year because this was a scaled up batch of our pilot recipe. We wanted to stick with the same hop blend. So the blend is actually 30% cashmere, 10% autumn, 10% citra, 30% laurel, and 20% sabro. And it's a fun process getting to actually select the ingredients that go into the blend. So, and it's a cool process that Yakima Chief sets up for all the breweries. Pretty much breweries that have participated in the past, they'll kind of see which chapters have good participation. And they'll send out different samples, just hop samples from the current season. And the chapters will put together usually like a chapter meeting where they'll take all of the different hops that they received from Yakima Chief and they'll do a hop rub and sensory of them. And then those chapters are able to give their feedback of which hops they'd like to see in the annual blend.
So I guess for this like hop blend, if you could point it at a particular direction, would you say it's more citrusy? Is it more tropical? Is it piney? Like, is it kind of a mix of all those three or different flavors?
I would say there's a lot of citrus coming out of this one. Some notes of like a little bit piney and a little bit tropical, definitely.
Sounds very good. I know it. It tastes good. I tried it when it was on tap in the tasting room. So yeah, I mean, I guess just to go over it one more time, if people want to get involved in Pink Boots, you email that email address. What was the email address again?
pinkbootsociety.org. I would direct people to go there because then they can find all the membership info on the website. And it's easier to remember than I think.
The email address. Okay, cool. Yeah. So if people want to get involved, then the best way to do it is go to pinkbootsociety.org. There's a lot of information about how to join, what membership entails, everything else like that.
We are also on Instagram and Facebook. So check us out there. Pink Boots Society Maine, PBS Maine.
Awesome. Is there anything else that the three of you, like anything else that we missed that we should talk about? We kind of
covered. This was a fun dress rehearsal, and I can't wait to do the real one.
The dress rehearsal nature is what makes it fun. Well, thank you so much to all three of you for joining us and talking about Pink Boots. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us. It's a lot of fun.
And for our listeners, if you have anything that you want to ask us, anything that you're interested in hearing us talk about, please let us know at podcast@allagash.com. We'd love to hear any and all feedback. This has been an Allagash Brewing production.